We made this.
Welcome to a new series of CHUCKYVISION. My name is Mark Adams and I am your host, and with me at this time is my co-host Dev Elson. Hello Dev.
Hello everyone.
Well, I am excited. I didn't mention we're part of the We Made This Podcast Network because I was so excited. We are part of the We Made This Podcast Network though. You should check out the other shows. Good ones. But yes, this is a new 4-part weekly series because Chucky is back on the telly. Dev, 4 episodes of Chucky for us in October. I'm very excited. How about you?
Oh, to quote Ace Ventura on how it feels to be back, like a glove. It feels like such a long break we take between seasons. Planning these specials, doing the specials, watching other things. But then when we get back into Chucky, it's like we never left. It really is a good show.
I wouldn't want to be doing this on a weekly basis forever and ever. But when we get the seasons, as intense as it is, I'm just buzzing for it. And it's you know, there's a kind of enjoyment in some ways of the franticness of when can we record? When can we edit? How do we get it out this week? How quickly can we get it out this week? Like I say, I'm glad we don't do it all the time, but because of the excitement of the show, I really enjoy it when it comes around.
Yeah, not to get too behind the scenes about it. There's a very slight relief that we're not going into November. But then, as I say that, I'm going to say that in 4 weeks, I'm going to regret saying that because I'm going to miss. The wait for the other episodes is going to kill me.
4 episodes isn't enough. 4 episodes is nicer than no episodes, and I'm delighted we will get like a split season because it's better than having to wait. But 4 episodes isn't going to be enough, and after October, we're going to be bereft with probably the worst cliffhanger in the fucking world. And yeah, we don't know how long we'll have to wait. Let's hope that people get paid properly soon.
It shouldn't be long now, because the Writers Guild strike is over.
Is it?
Yes, it ended, how now? About 2 weeks ago-ish?
Did it?
Yeah. They didn't get everything, but they got a good sizable amount of what they were asking for. A lot of the AI stuff has been nipped in the bud. So now it's not like, oh, whatever a writer hands in, that can just be like completely redone of AI. Studios and stuff can't hand out like AI prompts and say, hey, can you do something with this? Like they have to say this was an AI thing, and writers can obviously decline that. So like basically everything that is AI is now being officially stamped AI. So there's no manipulation, there's no underhandedness with that.
The fact that was even a fucking discussion.
Yeah. The writer's room stuff, that has all been pretty well done. Like, there's minimum amounts of people in the room, like, hours and stuff are better. Generally, yeah, they've gotten a great deal.
No, that's
Currently,
good.
though, the Actors Guild is still striking.
Right. So we still don't know when we're going to get the actors back in the studios for more Chucky filming.
Maybe that is what's hanging them up, because they did get 6 episodes, didn't they? So I imagine episodes 7 and 8 are written. So we'll see. They can at least work on those episodes now, like script-wise.
Well, we'll see. And hopefully the actors will get as good a deal as the writers got as well. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about fucking Chucky. Or chucking Chucky, as the case may be. So we're looking at Chucky Season 3, Episode 1. It's called Murder at 1600. It was directed by Jeff Renfro, and it was written by Nick Ziegler, Don Mancini, and Amanda Blanchard. And, well, I just loved it. I mean, I could have been a bit more subtle. I fucking loved it. What did you think, Dev?
It was a solid opening, yes. There is quite a lot of exposition, in the sense that there's a lot of character introductions. So I wouldn't say it was ever slow. I was always enjoying every moment. There is quite a lot of introductions to characters. There's a lot of scene setting to get an idea of, the inner workings of this place.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some shocking Chucky moments coming up.
Was it what you expected? Because I think it was for me. I think I did expect quite a light episode when it comes to the main protagonists, and I didn't expect any legacy characters. I didn't predict it on air, but I think I would have probably predicted a very similar episode to what we got, actually. The establishment of new characters and the reintroduction of the main cast, but no legacy characters to complicate it. Was that what you were expecting?
Yeah, as with previous seasons, they definitely do focus on establishing the setting and the new characters and stuff first. As with the Catholic school setting of season 2 and the high school setting of season 1, they've always tried to establish a normal before going into the crazy.
Mm. I mean, there's a clue in the titles. We've seen the names of the titles of the next episodes, and episode 3 is Jennifer's Body. So we can pretty much guarantee that Jennifer Tilly / Tiffany is going to be in that episode. I wonder whether we'll see any legacy characters in the next episode. I suspect not.
Yeah, who knows at this point? Who knows how fast they're going to move through things? I think we talked about the subplot of Jennifer Tilly / Tiffany, how long it would take for her to get arrested, or how long she's going to be in prison, how that arc is going to play out, how many episodes is that going to take up. I don't think it's going to be huge because, I don't know, her storyline in 2 wasn't huge, was it? I mean, it was great, and it kind of was huge in a way, but it didn't take up the bulk of that season 2.
No, you're right. And I'm looking forward to that, but I didn't miss it with this episode. I think this episode did its job right. I think it established everything the way it should, and I think it was exactly what we needed to set the scenario, really. Yeah,
we'll get straight into what it establishes now, but I think just overall, I think it does a really good job of establishing the White House. Like, I didn't expect it to be cheap or fake or artificial, but there was a point, like halfway through, when we were following some characters and they were just walking from like down a corridor and then one room to the next, and I was like, this really does feel like we're at the White House by the end of it. Like, it doesn't feel fake or over the top. Like, it actually establishes that we are in the White House.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched some stuff, like political stuff from America, but, I've not really watched, what was the major one with Martin Sheen as the president?
The West Wing, yeah. I did think
I've not watched that, but I have watched stuff like Designated Survivor and 24. Bit of a fan of Kiefer Sutherland, to be honest with you. And it did feel a lot like I was watching something like that, just happened to have a murderous doll. And I think that's something that's a kind of a modern take on stuff where you mix genres, you put horror into an established genre and see what horror does to it. And I love that. I've always loved stuff like that. And I wasn't disappointed by this. It was a lot of fun. And so we're introduced to Henry, and there's a lovely conversation about heaven and Jesus, and how ghosts are related to religion, and there's no such thing as ghosts, but there is a God. And it's like, well, he hadn't quite finished with his dig at faith, had he? He just thought he'd have a little nudge back and make his point one more time that religion is ludicrous.
I feel like the mother could have stepped in a bit then and been like, well, the ghosts don't hang around, they just go up to heaven. They're not hanging around your bedroom.
Yeah, I enjoyed it though, because it was the kind of poke that I enjoy, and I shouldn't. I should be a bit more. Anyway, so we are also introduced to Joseph, who is a good guy doll. The cute voice, and then followed by the evil face immediately after. I was like, yes, that's fucking Child's Play. Yes, that's Chucky. Yes, that's what I want to see. And the duplicitous nature of the doll was established really well. And I wonder whether this is deliberately a kind of soft reboot, in as much as they are trying to allow new viewers to enjoy it without having to deal with the incredibly weird and wonderful and long backstory of Chucky.
I think you are correct. I think it's the best of both worlds. They are definitely, for new viewers, it's Chucky in the White House. That's the premise. They get straight into it. He's already in the White House. For people who, like us, who really try and pick out all the details, trying to figure how everything from season 2 plays into this and how this carries on from season 2, it's a teaser. It's like a mystery. How did Chucky get into the White House? I believe we are going to see how he first met Henry. That has to be a scene. That they're not just going to ignore that and just say, "Oh, he's in the White House. Just deal with it."
Yeah, I think it's interesting with Chucky in as much as everyone will know who Chucky is if you've even vaguely seen anything relating to horror. He's so iconic. He's on the same level as everyone knows who Freddy is, etc. Similarly to, I don't know, if you know a wrestler, you know Hulk Hogan. There are established icons in certain genres that everybody knows. So they do have that as an advantage, Evil Killer Doll. And so they've used that to be able to almost come up with something that works in a lot of ways in this episode. And I'm all for it. More Chucky fans, no gatekeeping. If you haven't watched all of Chucky, you are still welcome, you know?
Yeah, and it also works like for the shorthand as well. Like, in many ways, Henry is like Andy, and many people have seen the original film. We don't need a full episode of Chucky meeting Henry and then them becoming friends. We know what Chucky's game is. We know what he does. We can skip that for the most part. I mean, as I say, I do believe we'll see their first meeting, but we don't need that laboriously played out again. We get how Chucky does it.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting choice that Henry is a similar age to Andy in the first films. It's almost like a nod, but maybe they want to play with it and do something different with it. And again, I'm all for it.
I do get the sense that they're going to do some things different with it because we do get some character elements in this opening scene that make him a little bit different than Andy. Clearly, this ghost thing is going to become a big part because he mentions ghosts throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to definitely do something with it. I mean, technically, Chucky is a ghost in a way.
Yeah.
So, like, they're going to play with that in a sense. And then also the whole Joseph thing. We don't know yet. When Henry is talking about ghosts to his mother, let's just establish that as well. Yeah, Laura Jean Charstecki is back from season 2. She's the mother as Charlotte Collins. When she hears Henry talk about ghosts and then mention Joseph, she has a look on her face. Like, Joseph? And then he points at the doll, and the doll just happens to be called Joseph. Like, that's also a little mystery that gets answered in this episode.
Yeah.
But, like, it's fun as well. Like, there's something a little bit more to Chucky choosing that name.
Yeah, and, well, Devon Sawa, as we know, has returned. Did we know that Michael Theroux was coming back? Dr. Foley and or Nathan Cross?
Yeah, that was nice to see him. He's I don't know if he was on like IMDb before the episode aired, but yeah, I looked him up. Yeah, just to double check. His credit is not even on IMDb yet. He's just listed as being in the episode, but they do say he is Vice President Spencer, so he has a sizable role in terms of his position.
So all of this, I wonder if there's an end game, if there's some kind of wibbly-wobbly voodoo weirdness that makes people in the Chucky universe, for want of a better phrase, look the same, or it's just he likes the same actors.
Yeah, because it's not the Doctor Who nonsense where relatives look exactly the same, because it's all in the same timeline.
Yeah, but no, maybe not that, but something weird and voodoo related that means that you have lots of people that are each other's weird doppelgangers, and maybe that might be something they will explore later on. I think not. I think it's probably that Don Mancini just likes some folk.
In terms of actually seeing that, probably not, but that's not a bad idea.
I think that is a bad idea, personally. But, even though it was mine. But, yeah. It does seem to me at this point, there's so many. Using Michael Thoreau as Nathan Cross after Dr. Foley was a fucking bold thing anyway, because Dr. Foley was such a wretched character and so memorable. I don't know. I don't think it will ever become anything else, but it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, because you mentioned that, it did make me think, we'll mention it now because he's not a big character in this episode. So we'll mention it now. There's a very, very annoying journalist in this episode. And there is a shot where she, at a press conference, looks over to the vice president. And so I think they're going to do the heel face thing. He was a baddie in Cult of Chucky. And then they switched it where he was actually a very nice guy in season 1.
Yeah, Nathan was very likable.
Yeah, I think he's going to be kind of an asshole in this season. You know, he's going to be an underhanded, vice president.
I mean, he was great in both roles, particularly Dr. Foley. Dr. Foley was so horribly malevolent. And Nathan Cross he wasn't a huge character, really, but he was noticeable because he was a nice person amongst all the twats.
Yeah, especially compared to his wife.
Oh, I'll mention this now. We were planning on having a guest alongside us for this episode, DJ King, my fellow commentator at TNT Extreme Wrestling. But unfortunately, we had some technical problems, so DJ is going to be joining us at another point. But he did send us his notes. And, well, it's no secret that DJ is he enjoys a funny fag. Not like me. I realise I am a funny fag. But no, he likes a marijuana cigarette. And he was fucking delighted that the president's kid is a pothead.
Yeah, this whole sequence, after a great title card. We always like to bring up the title cards.
We didn't, and it's great, yeah. And it's the obvious choice, but
it's the most obvious one to start it, yeah.
Yeah.
The later ones, I can't imagine how weird they'll get, but it's a solid one with the American flags.
Mm-hmm.
But this sequence where the lights go out, it establishes the whole family. We've already had Henry Collins and Charlotte Collins. We don't get a huge introduction to the actual president, James Collins, here. We just see him get up out of bed and then sort of deal with the situation. So not a big introduction for him. But yeah, we do get to know a bit about Grant Collins, the older brother. Yeah, he's sticking it to the man by smoking a joint in front of Nancy Reagan's "Just Say No" poster. So there's definitely some political satire going on here, even if it's on the nose.
It's not subtle, is it? And it's never been my vibes, but I'm very much pro legalization of cannabis. I think it just makes sense that instead of wasting police time on chasing after people who sit around and giggle, there's better usage of police time, and we can tax it and maybe even fund the NHS. And I didn't really think I'd be talking about that. But I guess maybe when you have a show that is dropped into a political situation that it's never been in before, I don't know, maybe we are going to be talking about politics a little bit. No spoilers, really. I'm incredibly left-wing, and I will be incredibly left-wing in all of my opinions when we talk about the politics of Chucky Series 3.
There's some interesting politics coming up in terms of what Mancini does with this setting and these characters. It'll be very interesting to see where he goes with this.
Yeah, and obviously there is always going to be an element of political activism if you're queer, but we will come back to that in a little bit. So Jake as a vlogger made perfect sense to me, and I love that his art is back. I think it's really nice that they've given a big nod to Series 1 here.
Yeah. That was exactly in my notes, yeah. It was a really good callback, to help establish that each season isn't a completely different universe. There is actual continuation. These are the same people that have been in it since season 1. And the social media thing. It's an odd one because I don't feel like it's going to be a big thing throughout the season. It just feels like, I don't know, like little satirical pot shots from Mancini about social media. It's definitely because we get a follow-up. We get this repeated with the other two, Lexi and Devon, of very fluffy, light social media contrasted with like serious topics in social media. He's sort of doing something with it, and it's interesting.
But there is a line that I wanted to highlight here. We had mentioned how buff Zachary Arthur has got. He says he's not a kid anymore. So in universe, having established a little bit later on that it is essentially time has passed almost concurrently with time that has passed since the last season, by the looks of things. And so, by my reckoning, whilst the actor's in his early 20s now, isn't he? The character is 16.
Yeah, I think the callback to his art helps contrast and establish that as well. Like, they are the same characters, and they are getting older. This is season 3, you know. We see that in TV shows in later seasons. We see these characters we like actually age in quote-unquote real time. You know, we'll see that in whenever the fuck the last season of Stranger Things comes out, and the cast of teenagers in that look about 40.
Wow. But I think someone like Jennifer Tilly isn't going to age between series 1 and series 3. Whereas I think if you compare Zachary Arthur when he was playing a 14-year-old at around 18 to playing a 16-year-old at 20, there is a huge difference. And you can already see that. And that's an inevitability. And I think maybe that's where he's coming from on not a kid anymore. But I don't know. I was completely useless at 16. I'm not sure I'm much use at 45, but I've at least got a bit of wisdom compared to what I was like at 16.
Yeah, and we didn't get this with Andy either. You know, we went straight from Child's Play 2, well, Child's Play 3 technically, but the same actor, we went from Child's Play 2 all the way to the end scene of Curse of Chucky. So that was a huge jump for that actor. We didn't get to actually grow up with Andy. We had to pick up the pieces in terms of just exposition. So yeah, this is definitely something sort of different we're seeing in Chucky, of actual characters growing up trying to continually survive and kill Chucky.
Yeah.
We get a bit of that later with the character of Miss Fairchild, you know, who serves as a reminder that these kids are meant to be in school.
Yes.
Growing up the normal way.
During the scene, it also establishes there is only one doll left.
Yeah, good exposition here. It is exposition in the sense of all the Chucky dolls that have been killed in season 1 and season 2. You know, it raises the stakes of what Chucky is going to be trying this season. And also it works in universe, it's not just plain exposition, it works for what Jake is doing. So it's a really clever trick he does, where he says he wants a Chucky doll to finish his art piece, but you know, really, he's looking for Chucky.
Yes.
So it's a really smart move for him to use his online community to all collectively try and find Chucky.
Yeah, and DJ sent his notes to us, and he said, "I'm here for Jake's creepy doll art, and I want to see Chucky get into one of those monstrosities." I hadn't really thought about it. I was thinking more along the lines that you were, that it was a play to get the doll, to destroy it. But I also wonder whether there's something to that Chucky is going to wear one of these outfits.
That would be very cool and very creepy. I don't know how the hell they would do that without CGI. It'd be a complicated thing to pull off. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see the art again after this episode, but I did find it funny the way he talked so seriously about it, and I was like, is that like a dig at how people talk about Chucky, the character, and the franchise? So like Don saying like, guys, it's just a killer doll.
Maybe. And then we learn that Collins is an independent president. And I think this is the dream of a lot of queer people, because neither of the parties in the States are particularly LGBTQ friendly. I wasn't subtle in my notes. I put, that's less believable than a doll that lives.
Yeah, it's a very interesting what he's going to do with this in terms of, like, is it going to be sort of utopian? Like, oh, this is what we could get. And then is it going to be satirical in terms of, oh, this is how an independent president also lets us down?
I'll be fascinated, because that has been played with in Designated Survivor, which was cancelled halfway through, which is a fucking shame. I enjoyed that, but again, it was idealistic pap that will never, ever, ever happen. That we're fucked. And I say we as in the entire world, but America is fucked. Britain is fucked. And just this fucking week, our Prime Minister has attacked our non-binary and trans siblings. And I am heartbroken and livid and not fucking surprised. This country's a joke. America's a joke. Politics is a joke. Hate is real and fucking scary.
Yeah, he did the very typical men are men, women are women, bullshit. I mean, I'm less mad than just more disappointed. To sum up, probably inaccurately, but very basically, in terms of British politics, it's a little bit different than how presidents are elected. Not every prime minister is elected. So, because we've had a long trail of recent PMs just quitting.
Fuck that, you mean?
Yeah, that is the sort of the power of the British people, that we can just bully a prime minister into quitting, and they always complain that it's too hard. But yeah, a lot of the time, the way it just works over here is they just get replaced by another prime minister, and a lot of them recently have been getting the flack from both sides, from left and right, and just the press. A lot of them have been getting the flack that they are, spineless, weak-willed. They don't know how to run a country. The whole speech that he did about everyone has been tearing into it for different ways. He's getting in trouble because he made a joke about the Scottish Prime Minister. He is getting tons of flack about the high-speed railway, the H2.
Do you know what he actually fucking did with that? He came to Manchester, my city, in the north, and he announced in Manchester that he was going to actively fuck with Manchester and refuse to build a train line that they had promised to our city. He had the audacity to come to my city and shit on it. Meanwhile, Canal Street in Manchester is a queer safe space. They are telling people that are attending the Tory conference that they are not welcome in our safe spaces because they support that bullshit, regardless of who they fuck. And I tell you something, queer is a community. It isn't who you have sex with. And as far as I'm concerned, they are right to tell Tories that you can fuck off out of our safe space.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's rambling a little bit explaining it, but yeah,
I am
basically
rambling as well too.
No, but basically, a lot of our prime ministers, especially Sunak, are basically like Jeb Bush when he was trying to get president. No one gave a shit about Jeb. Like his campaign was an embarrassment, and it's the same with people like Sunak. Like he is a conservative, but like the Conservative Party do not give a shit about Sunak. A lot of them don't like Sunak, so in the midst of him fucking up everything. And to be fair, a lot of these problems, like the NHS and stuff, were fucked up before he went into it, but he's not doing anything about it. He's not making it any better. He is literally just saying, oh, trans people aren't real. He's just saying that just because he knows the Conservative Party will lap that up. He's just trying to get in their good graces and get on their side. So it's not even like he actually believes that and he is a hateful bigot. He's saying it just so he remains popular enough to stay in his position.
And it sickens me. The politics of hate is a vote winner. And it sickens me. I am a gay man who grew up in the 80s. And I will never forget and never forgive the Tory party for what Margaret Thatcher did and said in Parliament. She referred to the plight of individual boys and girls and said that children are being taught that they have an inalienable right to be gay. All of these children are being cheated of a sound start to life. This is a political party of hate, and it directly affected me in the 80s, and I see nothing but an exact parallel for what is happening to our trans siblings today with Rishi Sunak and the votes he is trying to get by politics of hate.
Yeah.
I'm fucking angry. I'm so fucking angry. And if a queer television show ever needed to be set in a fucking political situation, it's now.
Yeah. We'll definitely see what season 3 does with the Commander-in-Chief, James Collins. Because right now, his only political standpoint is transparency, like complete transparency. That's the only thing we've learned about this fictional president.
Yeah, and it's implicit that that is the behaviour of a good man.
Yeah, and also, because I wondered, like Father Bryce in season 2, we did wonder how hard is Mancini going to go for these institutions? How hard is he going to tear them apart? And surprise, surprise, Father Bryce as an individual was actually very understanding. He was very open to ideas. He was, in fact, as we learnt at the end, gay himself, closeted. So there was definitely layers and complications to that character, and so we'll definitely learn more about James Collins here. On just the surface level, this is kind of like a parody of like Watergate and fake news. He is kind of very much almost in universe, though not as a parody. He is contrasting those past events. He's saying, like, unlike those past presidents, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know.
And I'm sorry I lost my temper. I'm scared. I'm horrified, and
yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
every time queer people think that there's progress being made, some cunt like Rishi Sunak shits all over us, and I'm scared.
But as I said, I mean, Sunak is spineless. he's no Thatcher. He's not going to make a dent on the political landscape.
I hope you're right. Anyway, shall we move on and talk about Chucky? I knew I was gonna do that, and I think I had to, and I'm sorry if it was a bit heavy. Let's talk about dolls what shoot people in the face.
Well, hang on. I think we're getting to that, but I think there's still a few scenes before that.
There are. So we'll talk about Lexi's Dance to Spitfire by The Prodigy.
I knew that was familiar. I was trying to place, what the fuck was that song? I definitely grew up with that song, and yeah.
The Prodigy are one of my favourite bands in all of ever, and Spitfire is fucking great. And if you liked that song and you haven't heard any of The Prodigy's music, they are a band that's set up in the late 80s in the UK, and they are just pioneers of rave and rock and rave crossover. If you've heard like anything like Pendulum, that wouldn't have existed without The Prodigy. So funnily enough, I was fucking delighted to see The Prodigy turning up in my favourite telly programme.
Yeah, and God, what a scene. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter call this cringe, but in a good way, because it is cringy.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's cringy, it's camp, it's bizarre. That she says it in the thing. Like Lexi is posting thirst traps and then using that as a way to get awareness. It's so fucking weird. Someone pointed out, like, imagine going on like TikTok and seeing just a typical, girl like Lexi posting a thirst trap, and then she just stops and she's like, "My sister has been abducted by Jennifer Tiller. You have to help me." Like, what the fuck?
I think that's great, and I think that is maybe something that women should use in future is thirst traps to make a point. And good, go for it.
Yeah, that is. I draw back what I was saying earlier about, is this meant to be satirical? Yeah, this is so on the nose. This is like a weird. This is the Black Mirror reality we're living in.
Well, that's the thing. Black Mirror is so fucking close in a lot of ways to what the reality of modern life is. I think it's started to influence things like Chucky and things like everything, basically. Black Mirror is fucking great.
And also, social media is a big point in this. I didn't even connect them until right now, but Grant is kind of a social media influencer. There's a point during a press conference where he talks about the power failure in the White House, and then that annoying reporter points out, like, well, Grant was live tweeting about the power failure. So, from what I understand, Grant is the way that they get into the White House, or get towards the White House, via social media.
Right, so they've started, so they've established social media is... Okay, that makes sense. Cool. Next up, I guess, we see the establishment of how much of a mess little Henry already is before any murders or anything happens, and how likeable and how well he does in a tough job Teddy is. And I should have seen it coming, really.
Yeah, the scene between Teddy and Henry at school, coming out of school, where he isn't quite making friends with the kids, and yeah, Teddy, played by Noah Dalton Danby, was just he did a really nice job at subverting expectations, because he's a big guy and he's meant to be this bodyguard, but he's actually really sweet and really nice to Henry. And you say we should have expected that. I was kind of, I think he did such a good job that I was expecting to see more of him. I wanted to see this friendship between him and Henry. Yeah. And like, especially when you get that little bit where Henry says a weird thing where he says he can hear Joseph's heartbeat when he's asleep. It's like, oh, that's weird. Is he going to mention that to the president? But no, he does not get a chance.
And I think the establishment of how paranoid Henry is and how he's got no friends and believes in ghosts, what a vulnerable kid he is, that he needs Teddy. It's so much more brutal when Teddy is graphically murdered. And, oh dear, I just went, fuck, I wasn't ready.
I had like a delay on this because it happened so quickly. I thought it was like, I can't think of an example, but you know in films and stuff where someone is like put down upon and they're bullied and stuff, and then they have like suddenly we see them like, you know, like someone like their boss or something is downbeating them, and then we just get like a shot of them like punching their boss or something, and then it cuts back and it's like, oh, they're just imagining that. Like, it happened so quickly in this that I was like, oh, is Chucky just imagining this? And then I was like, oh wait, no. Like, no. It's real. This happened.
Yeah. And it was really graphic as well. And is this Chucky's first attempt at framing a suicide?
No, I remember we see this in Cult of Chucky, don't we? That elderly lady sees Chucky. True. And then Chucky writes in her blood like Chucky did it.
Yes, you're right. But is it the first time he's used a gun? It felt like an unusual Chucky kill. That's all I'm saying, I guess.
It's a very impromptu one. The setup as well is so unexpected. It's so low-key. Like, Henry's just like, hey, can you do a sweep in my room? And Teddy's like, okay, sure. Like that, like just in a flash, Chucky just grabs his gun and shoots him in the head. And as you said, it's so brutal. It's like the damage on his head is so horrific. And
it's great.
I didn't even think it was real. It happened so quickly. I couldn't even comprehend what was happening. And then, no, he's just on the floor, dead. Someone comes in and screams. And then it's just like, the suddenness is so brutal of just like, he's dead. And then instantly, oh, this is going to look like a suicide. And that's just a horrible end for that character.
Oh, yeah. And I think brutal deaths and killing off characters that maybe we don't expect to get killed off is something that I really enjoy about Chucky, because nobody's safe.
I think suicides have been a simple thing, as you said, were good. I think didn't that mother, you know, the one who had cancer in season 1, and then she goes flying out the window.
That was a faked suicide, you're right.
Yeah, that was written up as a suicide. And that's just a really horrible fate for a Chucky victim. Because some are clearly murders, and it's like, okay, people will try and get justice for that. But when it's a suicide, people just like, yeah, you're dead, and people have the wrong idea of you. And that's really horrible.
Yeah, and when Henry says Teddy left me. That's fucking heartbreaking as well. But the one thing I did think, wouldn't they always check for gunpowder residue before announcing that it was a suicide?
They do say it's being investigated. Because it is fucking odd, the fact that this guy had no inclination of suicidal tendencies. He was literally just doing his job and then just killed himself out of nowhere. I think this isn't the last we hear of this incident. I think it is going to get looked up on, because there's going to be other murders that his murder is going to be retroactively, oh, this was a murder, not a suicide. Yeah. I think he is going to get some justice in that sense. But I think right now they just have to call it a suicide, because, I mean, obviously the optics of it's the White House. It's safer to say it's a suicide than a murder.
True. And then we get Devon podcasting, and it's a nice little reference to, Chucky's fucking dead, so they can get on with their lives a little bit. So Devon is podcasting, Jake's doing his art, Lexi's being a massive hoe. You know what I mean? They reverted back to type, and it's a nice reference back, I think.
But then it's interesting, because are they reverting back? Are they reverting back for the sake of catching Chucky? Is it more of like a publicity thing?
Maybe.
Because Devon, weird, because you got hints of it in Jake and Lexi's one with like the messages, the on-screen messages and stuff. Because people were like, "Oh, we're rooting for you, Jake. We hope you're okay." So there's hints that the public know what happened to them. But then, with Devon's though, it all comes out. There's no him say, because he's back on his true crime podcast. He's talking about the events that happened to him. But he's not saying, oh, it's a copycat. He's not saying, oh, it's Jennifer Tilly. He's not saying, oh, maybe there's a curse surrounding this doll. He's just saying, guys, watch out. Chucky is a killer doll. If you find him, watch out. He will kill you. He is putting the story of Chucky out into the world.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about. We've said in many times where Chucky just gets away with a kill. And we're like, oh, is this going to be the moment that everybody knows about Chucky? And this is like the closest we get, where obviously Devon says that he's on the hunt for proof. He's going to try and prove this. But right now he is getting out in the consciousness. And it's already sort of in there in season 1, when Jake and Devon become friends and they look up the not curse, but like the boogeyman, the urban legends of Chucky. So they are solidifying that in a sense. They're putting it out there for everyone to put the pieces together. Like this is the trail of bodies that Chucky has done. Which I think if you're in that world, if you look at that whole history and you put it all together, then you're like, because we're going to see Jennifer Tilly take the rap for pretty much all of this. And I think even then it's like, how? How did she kill all these people? It doesn't make any sense.
Then there's the scene with a character called Hicks and Grant Collins. I liked Hicks. I thought he had an interesting but simple motivation, and it felt very real. And then, Grant is smoking weed in the White House.
And he says, oh, God forbid I get caught doing this in these sacred halls. And then we get the amazing contrast with the actual president himself is ripping a bong.
Yeah, and back again in DJ's notes, he was absolutely fucking delighted by this. I'm not totally surprised by that. To be honest, so was I. It was a great gag. It was a really great gag. It's
very funny. And also, like, a really funny thing I noticed, I really want someone to talk about it in the behind the scenes or something, but, like, Devon Sauer clearly knows how to use a bong. Like, it's obviously not weed. It'll be like fake. It'll be like synthetic smoke or whatever. But like he inhales it and he lets out a giant, puff, a giant plume. And then when it cuts to Laura Jean doing it, she's kind of like Bill Clinton in that she did not inhale.
Yes, Dev.
When you can hear the bubbles, but there's no smoke in the pipe, and then you don't see her exhale. Like Devon Sauer did.
Brilliant.
As a funny start to that scene, it does mix the funniness with seriousness. It gets into a sincere moment of them talking about, to us, the reveal of why Joseph is such a strong name for them, because Henry lost his brother.
Yeah.
Turns out there was a third Collins brother, and obviously he's passed away. So, an interesting wrinkle to Henry, because the start of this episode, structurally, in terms of a narrative, it's like, oh, we're doing Andy again. This is a kid being manipulated by Chucky, but unlike Andy, who's the sweetest kid ever, Henry has already suffered some loss. He's sort of, in a way, similar to the main trio. He's got trauma. He's dealing with stuff. He's emotionally stunted a little bit.
And then we get nearly a sex scene, but then we don't.
Oh, yeah.
I wondered how far they would go with it, and they didn't. I think it's established that they are having sex, though, right?
Yeah, but they say something about, like, are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this. I think they are talking about the first time. Which, gay youths, that's something we don't see much on TV. So that's an interesting story angle to do.
I think it's an important one as well. It's something that you will see with heterosexual couples. And, I mean, obviously I'm going to refer to this. You see a discussion about it in Heartstopper, and they aren't ready. Whereas this is going to be interesting because they are. I think it's an important thing. It's just whether or not the right people are going to see it, because this is an 18-rated horror.
Yeah. I wonder how much we'll see of this. When will they do the deed? Probably at the end, maybe in the middle. Who knows? Once the plot gets started, I don't know how much time there is to do that. Because, case in point, in this very scene, they get cock-blocked by Chucky.
They do. But also, is this the first time that they say I love you to each other? I think it is. Even if it isn't, it's a very significant thing that they're saying that to each other.
I want to say that was a moment in season 2. Maybe the last episode at Christmas. I think they say I love you. But yeah, it's still a great moment, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And then Miss Fairchild is basically their teacher as well as their guardian. And I was certain she 100% knew about Chucky at the end of season 2. But now it feels a little bit more unclear.
It is odd. Yeah, I do think she knows. I think in the reviews it said she's on their team.
Yeah.
She's on their side. It is a little odd. I feel like, because this is going into the... well, no, this is the first time we see them with Miss Fairchild. That isn't the final scene. But I would have thought it's quite noticeable in that final scene that she leaves just as they see Chucky on TV. That suggests that she doesn't know. But, season 2 does suggest that she does know.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing that made a bit clearer, I think. I'd like there to be an adult that isn't a legacy character that believes them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because this phone call they've just got is the start of Chucky coming back. I think her scenes work fine because she's just trying to move past. I think they all assumed he was dead, so she's just trying to move past. I like her scenes. It's a good point that she calls them stupid because even though they are incredibly emotionally mature because of what they've gone through, they're still kids. They need an education. They will be stupid if they just don't go back to school.
I think there's a nice nod of realism there that might have been ignored.
Yeah, definitely. It's like we've said about watching these characters grow up versus characters like Andy, who we just come back to every now and again. To make them seem more real, we do need to get those elements. Like, they can't just forget about school and never go back.
And this is just me genuinely being scared by American culture. There's something very American about guns at a funeral.
Yeah, they definitely don't do that over here in Britain, do they?
No, I don't think so.
What's it called? The 10-shot salute? Something like that. I don't know. I don't really have a political point on that in terms of gun culture. I think it's something they do for men in the service. I think Don Mancini, again, in his subtleties, he isn't chastising them. He isn't making a point against it, but he does show Henry is affected by the gunshots because that's how the person died at that funeral. So that's a really nice touch for them to hone in on how Henry's being affected by all this.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it was really effective. And then the ending. What the fuck was that camera tilt?
Yeah,
I hated it. It confused the fuck out of me. I was like, what are they trying to do with this?
I guess it's like, direction-wise, it's just, their world turning upside down, or them... I was going to say their world turning upside down, but it's a 360 turn. So it's almost like them reverting back to, we've got to fucking get Chucky. It's a 360 back into...
Bit crude, that.
I don't know. I liked it. I thought...
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't think it was bad.
I kind of... Yeah, it just stuck out and I thought it was cack. But I'm glad that you liked it.
I think... the button at the end is a little weird. Like, I like the dialogue of, we're going to kill Chucky once and for all, again. Like, that's a funny end line. Yeah. But then, like, they didn't do the traditional cut to black and then credits. It's a weird freeze frame on them. And then the credits just start.
Yeah. Very 80s. Very kind of almost Police Squad.
I did think, is this paused or are they just standing still?
Yeah. Yeah. But overall, fucking great start. Absolutely delighted. It really feels like they've got the right balance when it comes to establishing new characters, but moving on. Yeah, I loved it. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered most of it. I've still got a couple notes. Do you have any?
No. Go on.
Okay, I think there's just a couple small scenes that we've missed that I just want to talk about. In terms of the new setting of the White House, I did do a couple things looking up security. I think the setup of the typical scary movie setup of the lights going out is, it's a trope now in horror movies, isn't it? Whenever a killer is about to kill someone, the lights always have to go out. Mm. But I like that because it's the White House, that means everyone goes on high alert. It's not like, the babysitter has to go down into the basement and get the breaker. It's like now everyone's like, go, down into the bunker.
Yeah.
It makes things a little bit different for Chucky. And also, I looked up because I was thinking, Chucky is just walking around the Oval Office, stealing stuff. I looked it up, though. The White House only has security cameras for the outside and public areas. So there's no cameras in the private areas. Chucky still can get away with running around and not be immediately caught.
Good grief.
I remember looking it up and I was like, why don't they have security? And then someone was like, yeah, Nixon tried to tape his meetings and that didn't go well.
Well,
they do make a point that the White House was hacked and they don't know by who. So, I mean, if they had security cameras throughout the White House and they got hacked, that would be game over, wouldn't it, really?
True.
We didn't really go into the family meeting because I think we covered that with Henry's ghosts and stuff like that. I felt Grant in that scene, pretty annoying, just ragging on his dad and his mum. I was like, is this character going to make it? Are they going to kill Grant off? I don't see Grant making it to the end of the season 3.
I think Grant's going to die too, yes.
Yeah. I will have to rewatch the trailers because I wonder, is Grant going to be the death at the party, the Halloween party? But I will have to rewatch the trailers and see if he's... because there's a shot of the family reacting to something, and I need to see if Grant is standing with them. But, yeah, in terms of more political stuff, I mentioned it, that redhead bitch at the press meetings. I don't have a name on IMDb, but her name's Alex Paxton Beasley. She kept coming up in this episode so much that she's going to have to become a character, right? She kind of reminds me of Kate Mara in House of Cards.
Okay.
The journalist that gets too close and tries to put pieces together. Because she's, at first, really fucking annoying, ragging on the president's transparency thing, like in all those press meetings. But then we get that shot of her looking at the vice president, and then we get that moment at the funeral where she is with that bald guy, and the bald guy did it like a background check on Teddy. And so she is going to try and investigate these murders from an outside perspective. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows whether or not she's a bad guy or a good guy? She's kind of just doing her job, but like how crude is she going to be about it? And then, I love that bit of dialogue when Chucky, the phone call, yeah. So I like when Chucky sends him messages, and then Devon's like, man just says, fuck you, Devon.
Yeah, that was a great line. That was funny as fuck, that was.
That was really funny. But then, of course, they see their first clue is that it's a private number. It's just zeros. So they figure out this must be like an important person to have a private number. And then Lexi gets the great line. Like, how important? Zendaya?
Great line.
So yeah, there's some really good jokes in this episode. On IMDb, the next episode is listed as Let the Right One In. And it just says, Jake, Devon, and Lexi hatch a plan to take down Chucky by befriending the president's teenage son. So that seems very much focused on them, the teenagers, as we've talked about. That's how it works in these seasons with Chucky, is it always focuses on the main story before going into off notes. But yeah, the next up on Chucky is all about Jennifer Tilly / Tiffany. So that might be quite early for that storyline. It has a very funny moment where the on-screen text says, "Hell have no fury," like a supernaturally possessed Oscar-nominated actress scorned.
It's a storyline that I'm really, really excited about after the trailer. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's in the trailers where Nika is on the stand and she says she's fucking crazy. That's in the teaser.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting tease because if she's on the witness stand, is she off the hook for everything that happened in Curse and Cult? Because she was like a wanted person in like season 1, wasn't she?
It's so fucking weird and complicated. I don't know what to think, to be honest with you.
I think since she got busted out of the asylum by Jennifer and she was kidnapped by Jennifer for all of season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I think, this might be her out. Nika might be an innocent person after this.
Or it might be that they are seen as being in cahoots or...
Well, she does say in the teaser, Jennifer Tilly dismembered my limbs. So I don't think she's in cahoots anymore.
It's going to be fun finding out, I think. And again, Nika is a character I'm really looking forward to seeing come back.
Yeah, every season I wonder. I want to see more of Fiona Dorff, but then every season what they do to her, I'm like, how the fuck can she come back for another season? What are they going to do with her? Like, the season 2 ends with the tease of her getting revenge, and it's like, how? How is she getting revenge?
You've got no legs or arms. You've got robot arms.
She's got robot arms now. My prediction of her getting robot legs hasn't happened yet, because she's still in a wheelchair in these scenes, but maybe in a bit in season 3.
Maybe. Dev, we're 1 episode of 4 down, and we've seen a quarter of this half of Chucky Series 3. It doesn't feel like enough.
I think we got a lot of establishment in this first episode. The deck has been stacked, and episode 2 is where things are going to really kick off.
I think you're right. I think episode 2 is going to be fucking pandemonium.
From what it seems, the teenagers, I don't think they're going to get to the White House until episode 4, I think. Because they show up at the party.
Which is Halloween, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they show up before, but they certainly show up at the party. And I think the party, bad stuff is definitely going to happen at the party. I just don't know how bad for them, because they're also public figures now. That hasn't immediately crossed over yet. The fact that they are public figures, Jennifer Tilly is getting imprisoned for all these murders, but it's all about the Chucky doll. Even if no one believes that Chucky is alive, it's all about the Chucky doll. And yet no one in the White House has gone, oh, that's just like that evil Chucky doll. No one said that yet, but it's in the public conscious now in this world. So I wonder if someone is going to be aware now. You know, like, I wonder if, like, the security guards or even the president himself, I just wonder how long it's going to take. Grant is pretty open on social media. I imagine maybe he's going to be the first one to say, hey, this is just like that fucking cursed doll that everyone talks about online.
Maybe. And that's maybe what gets him killed.
Yeah, I was just about to think, if he starts talking about that, not going to end well for him.
Nope. Nope, it is not. Well, Dev, 1 episode down, 3 episodes to go. Where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me still on Twitter at Absolute Travesty, not many other places. I have a link tree on Twitter, so I'm in other places, but I don't do much online. I'm mainly just here on Chucky Vision.
I mean, I'm glad to have you on Chucky Vision. I can be found at Mark Adams HC on Twitter and Instagram. I am not on Threads, and leave me alone on Facebook. Thank you for joining us for Chucky Vision. So until next time, wanna play?
Chucky Vision is a podcast brought to you by the We Made This Network. Follow us on Twitter at Chucky Vision. Follow the network on Twitter at WMT_network. Our website is WeMadeThisNetwork.com. The logo was designed by Dev, and the theme tune composed by Dark Fantasy Studios. Wanna play?
Welcome to Make It So, a Star Trek Legacy podcast. Engage your warp cores and get ready to embark on a thrilling journey through the depths of the 24th and 25th centuries. Have some fun on the Cerritos. Join the Enterprise D crew. Take a trip with Star Trek Voyager. Take some lessons on the Protostar, or even relax on Deep Space Nine. With Make It So, we pay homage to the rich legacy of Star Trek, celebrating its enduring impact on popular culture and its profound influence on science fiction as a whole. We honour the vision of Gene Roddenberry and the countless writers, actors and creators who have brought this incredible universe to life. So join us as we navigate the cosmic expanse of the final frontier, engage in lively discussions, dissecting episodes, analysing characters, and sharing our love for everything Star Trek. Whether you are a lifelong fan or just beginning your voyage, this podcast is for you. It's time to embark on a journey where the stars are our guides, where the impossible becomes possible, and where the spirit of exploration knows no bounds. Welcome aboard Make It So, the Star Trek Legacy podcast that will transport you to new frontiers and ignite your passion for the future. Make it so.